Okay, welcome to our Photoshop tutorial sessions. I'm Danny Irvine, and if you're listening or watching these tutorials, you've most likely just completed a 2-day Photoshop workshop. So these videos are really to help you brush up on what you've learned already on the 2-day workshop and to help you build up the momentum, I suppose, and help you to learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. The best way to get good at Photoshop is really practice, practice, practice. So these tutorials will help you to carry on that journey and help you become a better Photoshopper and create beautiful images from your work. So let's get started. So first up, let's open up Photoshop and let's have a quick look around at what we've got. So this is Photoshop CC, or Creative Cloud as it's better known. I've recently updated this from Photoshop 6. I've been using Photoshop 6 for quite a while, and I just wanted to be using, I suppose, the latest edition of Photoshop. And I've really enjoyed what I've seen. I've enjoyed some of the changes. I really like the new user interface. So it looks like a better system, and yeah, I'm really enjoying using it. So let's have a quick look at where we're at. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Photoshop, or were familiar before you did the workshop, and now you're a lot more familiar with it. But just to brush up, when you open Photoshop originally from the start, you'll end up in this menu up here on the right. Now, this is basically how you set up your user interface, and as a default, this is your default page. This is the start page, and the start page is pretty good. You've got all of these, I suppose, presets where you can very quickly just set up a new document. These are set to standard sizes. You have US letter, you have, HD 1920 by 1080 and so on. There's, if you're going to create images to go onto mobile apps and so on, they're all there. Or you can set up a custom design, custom document. So this is all ready for you. It's nice and simple. I prefer personally being back up here, as you know, in the essentials, and I've set this up the way I like it. Now over here on your left hand side, you'll see all your tool palettes here, and this is what you're going to be hitting up on a regular basis to get all the jobs done that you want to get done in Photoshop. Over on the right hand side, you have all your different panels. So if you're doing text, you have paragraph, characters. Down here there's your layers, your channels. The ones I really use, the adjustments, characters. We're going to talk a little bit about actions later on. We have your color swatches if you want to go back in your history and so on. So there is a lot of things in here that you will not use, but there's a few things that you use on a regular basis. How these panels all look is entirely up to you. So what I do is, when you come in here, it's pretty basic, but what you want to do is go all the way over here into the window, and then you can have a look down here and see what's in here, and you can select what you want to put into that menu. So we might decide, say, brush presets. So we can click brush presets and it opens up all our brush presets. It's not something I use, but once that's open up, we can literally pick that up, drag it in there, and it's now there in our panels for good. You can take it out if you don't want it. Later on you can take it out and you can close it off, and then it's gone. So you can change all of these how you like. I have it set up the way I have it set up. You can change the size and give yourself more room for different panels. You might want your adjustments in there. You may not. You might like to see the properties of each adjustment, and it's entirely up to you. So that's very simply how we can quickly set up our page how we like it. Okay, so we're going to quickly have a look at different ways that you can open up a file into Photoshop. It seems a fairly basic step to take, but if you haven't looked at Photoshop before, it's probably something you don't understand, and it's a very simple thing to do. So let's have a look at 3 different ways we can go ahead and open up a file into Photoshop to start processing. So the first way, all we have to do is simply go to the menu and click on File and go down to Open. Now in Open, Finder will open up. We will have access to all our folders and files. You can go through your desktop. You may have a separate hard drive. You might want to go and find files in there, but wherever you want to go, simply go in there, click on the file and hit open. That's it. Very simple. Okay. Okay, so the second way we can go ahead and open up a file into Photoshop is by using Bridge. So if we head up here into the menu again, click on File, and you can see we can browse in Bridge. So if we click Browse in Bridge, Adobe Bridge opens up. Now Adobe Bridge is another Adobe software. It's part of Photoshop, but you don't necessarily get it when you download Photoshop. You have to download it separate, but it's part of your package when you subscribe to Photoshop. I really like Bridge. I find it a really simple way to have get around all my folders and files. It's a great way to display and view all your files. It is a little bit power hungry, so if you're not using it, I'd switch it off. But you can tag your photos. You can do a whole range of things, and you can open from Adobe Bridge straight up into Camera Raw to process your raw files as well before heading into Photoshop. So I really like it. Not everybody does, but I find it a really simple tool to use. So if we were to simply choose one of the files here and double click on that file, it will open up into Camera Raw. Alternatively, we could go up into the dial here, click the Open in Camera Raw button, and it would open in Camera Raw again. Being a JPEG, we don't necessarily have to open in Camera Raw. I don't normally work with JPEGs, but just purely for the example today. But if I right click, and I can open with Adobe Photoshop CC, and your file opens up. So another simple way of opening up a file ready for processing. So the third way you can go ahead and open up a file in Photoshop is by simply grabbing your Finder window, going through your folders, pick the specific file that you want to open, and clicking on an image, right click and you open with, and I have mine set up as the default, which will open straight up into Photoshop Creative Cloud. And once we click on that, again, it opens up into Photoshop. So there you have 3 ways you can open your files up into Photoshop. It's very simple. And now we can get started on processing our images.